Welcome back everybody to Zombie's Garage, where we bring the dead back to life. Recently just picked up this Husqvarna lawnmower. It is a 46-inch cut mower and is pretty much your basic mower that you'll find at any Lowe's or hardware. It's not a heavy duty lawnmower, it's a light duty. It will do pretty much most jobs any homeowner could possibly ever want. I recently picked this one off a friend of mine for free. They asked me if I needed a new project, and here we are. This one is a 46-inch cut mower, model designation YTH20K46. 20 being for the 20 horsepower Kohler Courage engine, 46 and obviously being for the blade size. Over here on the side of the hood, they do list the parts for all maintenance items, as in blades, belts, and spindles and such, which is always handy to have so you're not trying to figure out what you have. This motor currently has 407 hours on it, and it is in desperate need of some maintenance, as in valve adjustments and such. This is a blade engagement. It's a bit cumbersome to say the least, and it works. I would have preferred something more simple on mowers, but I guess there are copyright laws to deal with. This one uses a hydrostatic transmission with cruise control. I cannot see how anybody would ever need one. That's the blade height adjustment. That's something that actually needs some work on there. And we're going to start up the motor and you'll be able to hear how she sounds. I will say this is probably one of the nicest mowers I've actually picked up for free in recent memory. This one actually does run, although it does, like I said, need work. You can hear the valve clatter in there. That 400 hours, she does need it. Oil change too, probably spark plug. We'll just do basic maintenance on this, so tag along and let's see what we can do with this. Today we're going to drain the oil, change the filter, change the air filter, and obviously change that nasty fuel filter. Oil comes out that petcock there. Take the cap off. And then a little bit of a fumble on this because you got to push in and twist at the same time, and those petcocks tend to get very loose over time. Drain the oil right through a funnel right down there, but you can attach a hose to it. I just have a long funnel, so I'm going to go right and just use that. While the oil's draining, we're going to go right ahead and change the air filter out. You can get to them through these two knobs right here. And there we go. Pretty dirty air filter, not the worst I've seen, but definitely needs a changing. New air filter goes on. It has a groove that it sits on, but it's pretty tight on this one, so I ended up squishing a little bit of the paper element to get it on there. Previously, it looks like there was no pre-filter on there, but the air filter kit does come with a pre-filter, so I'm going to add that also. And then you just go right ahead and reinstall the air cover by putting the 2 screws on. I'm going to speed this up though, so we don't have to wait for me screwing that on there. Looks like the oil's done draining, so you just pull the petcock and turn it at the same time. It's still going to drip a little bit of oil, so use a paper towel or cloth to clean it up and reinstall the little cap back over it so nothing else will drip out on you. From here we're going to move to the oil filter. It should come off easily enough. If not, just use an oil filter wrench to spin off the old filter. After you pull the oil filter off, go ahead and use a paper towel or a cloth to clean off the area where the oil filter mounts to. This gives you a nice clean surface to work with and ensures there's no dirt that's going to contaminate the oil after you reinstall a new oil filter. This is new oil filter I got. I went ahead and bought a premium oil filter since it was only $1 more. And it's a little bit bigger oil filter, so it has a little more capacity to it. And for $1 more, you might as well. Here I'm filling it up ahead of time. This gives the engine a little bit easier when it's priming the oil system, so you're less likely to starve the main bearings. And I'm also making sure to spread oil across the rubber seal to ensure it doesn't chafe or break, making sure there was no oil leakage that comes out of it. And then just reinstall the oil filter. Be careful not to tip it over, since you did fill it up full of oil. It will spill. Once you get it seated, just give it a good firm twist like I'm doing here. You don't want to crank it over with a wrench or anything. That doesn't help it seal anymore. These are designed to be hand tightened. From there, you pull the dipstick out. Use a funnel. You can try pouring right from the bottle, but it'll usually just make a mess for me. And these engines take 1 quart of oil. So just pour a quart in. And once you're done, make sure you clean up the area. Take your dipstick, put it back in, and then you're going to pull it back out and check to make sure you got oil on in between the 2 fill lines. Make sure you do not overfill your oil, because it will come back out the oil fill tube and sometimes blow out oil seals. Next, we're going to change the fuel filter. I'm using a set of Lyman pliers. I found them the easiest to use on these kind of fuel clips that they use for holding the fuel lines together. It's easier to grab all 3 prongs on these clips with those kind of pliers, at least for me. In a few minutes, I'm going to be wishing I had a fuel shutoff valve already installed on here, because even though I ran the motor dry, there's still a lot of gas left. This is another premium fuel filter made for Kohler engines, and air ensures that the fuel is going in the right direction. And as you can see, that's why a fuel shutoff valve is nice, because now I'm pouring gas essentially all over the place. So I have to work quickly to make sure that I don't spill all the gas out on everything. I'm going to use the pliers again to reinstall their clips in the proper locations. Ensure the arrow is pointing in the proper direction, going towards the carburetor. And then I give the filter a nice snug twist and make sure everything's in place. Last but not least, we're going to restart the engine. As soon as I get it started, I'm going to bring the throttle back down to idle. This ensures I don't damage any surface inside the engine while the oil is being pumped back through. Once the engine's running now, I will pump the throttle a couple times to make sure this oil system has been properly pressurized. Then I'll shut it down and check the dipstick after a few minutes to make sure the oil is at the proper level. Thank you for joining me today. Please like and subscribe for future episodes. In future episodes, I will be changing the spark plug and readjusting the valves. On top of that, I will be working on the deck, as the one side does sit very much lower than the other. Thank you for joining me at Zombie's Garage, where we're bringing the dead back to life.